I am very thrilled to ask our first speaker to come up and join me on stage. Earlier this year, we did a presentation at Nationwide Insurance about our Bagwashi Circle mentoring program. And Cindy Tolsma, one of our board of directors and also one of the volunteers that heads up our Bagwashi Circle mentoring program, said, she used to work at Nationwide Insurance and she could get us a lunch meeting where we could present the vision and maybe hopefully get a few people interested in the program. Well, we had 6 people sign up that day to become mentors through our Bagwashi mentoring program. It was just wonderful. But in many ways, this most special moment of the day was after everyone kind of left the room, this one lady kind of came up and said, by the way, I just want to let you know that I went through your program about 10 or 12 years ago, and I'm a graduate, and it really helped turn my life around. And we have had the joy of getting to know Lakeyshia this past year. So I'm going to ask Lakeyshia to come up. And we're going to just have a conversation for a few minutes, and she's going to share a little of her story. Welcome, Lakeyshia.
Thank you.
I'm just going to hand you the microphone, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your life prior to coming to BHA?
Well, I grew up in a home with a single mother. I had 3 sisters and a brother, and my mom was raising us all by herself. She worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time to support us, so she wasn't home very often. And eventually I ended up hanging out and doing some things I probably shouldn't have been doing, which resulted in me ending up pregnant at the age of 16. I had my first son when I was in 11th grade, and ended up getting into a fight with my mom. And I left her house when my son was 3 months old. We got into a physical fight, and I just couldn't stay there anymore. And I ended up leaving and staying in a house with my son's father. And it was a house with no water and electricity. So we essentially were homeless, and things ended up not working out with his father. He literally told me that he was not ready to be a father. So I was alone with a son and kind of ready to give up on life itself because it was really hard raising a son and trying to go to school. And I ended up having a meeting. I went to Harrisburg High School with our teen parenting program, in which someone from Delta Community, who at that time, back in 2000, partnered with Brethren Housing Association, and they helped me to get my own apartment. And with the help of my mentor and caseworker, I was able to graduate from high school. I got accepted to 3 different colleges and ended up going to Shippensburg University in the fall of 2001. I also met my now husband prior to leaving for college, and he helped to support my son and I, even though that wasn't his child, and helped me get through some really tough times. And I graduated from Shippensburg in 2006. Had a job offer from Nationwide 2 months before I graduated, so I had a job waiting for me when I came back to Harrisburg, and I have been working there ever since.
That's great. Thank you, Lakeyshia. Tell us just a little bit about your life now. Like, what do you do at Nationwide, and also tell us about your church involvement.
So at Nationwide, I am an underwriter. You probably don't know what that is. It's pretty much the people who look at the policies that our agents write, and we decide whether or not we should accept them or reject them. I actually work closely with agents on profitability issues, so I figure out why they're losing money for the company and how we can fix it. I also am attending Living Water Community Church, and at the beginning of this year, I was asked to head up our housing ministry, which is very similar to what BHA does. We have a desire to help families who are in need with housing and helping them to get them back on their feet. And that's why I went to the lunch and learned that Steve mentioned at the beginning of this year to see if we could partner together and build a strong relationship that'll help families get on to a better place like I did.
I have to say it was pretty exciting when we had this meeting at her church with her pastor, and he was sharing some of their vision for how they're revamping some of their outreach ministries. And at one point I said, I really recommend you read some books by this guy named Bob Lupton. Bob was our banquet speaker at our last year's event. And he said, well, we just got done reading one of his books, and that's why we're revamping some of our outreach ministries based on the stuff we read. And it was just like this clicking. And I just saw Bob last week at another conference I was at, and it was great to share that with him. And so we're looking at ways we can partner together. One of the things Bob talks about is at Christmas, instead of having people recruit wrapped gifts and giving them to people, recruiting unwrapped gifts and doing a low-cost Christmas toy shop so people can have the dignity of buying gifts for their own kids, but they can do it on a limited budget. Well, they're planning to do that this year, so we're going to work at it together this Christmas. So you'll be hearing about that in the coming weeks. We're going to be sending out notices if you'd like to donate to that, and then our families will be able to go to their toy shop. We'll help recruit items for it. That's just one way that we're partnering with their church. We're also in some preliminary discussions about doing some job training efforts together. So these are just some of the seeds that will come out of us meeting Lakeyshia. So one other thing, when I called you last week to check in, I didn't realize this, but it took a while to call back because you were on break from...
I actually just started working on my master's degree at Cairn University, formerly known as Philadelphia Biblical University. I'm working in their master's program towards Christian counseling.
Thank you so much, Lakeyshia. I feel so blessed many days when I get up to have the joy of doing the kind of work I do, to be surrounded by all of you on a daily basis. You know, sometimes people get cynical about the world and everything, and I'm like, I can't do that. I'm surrounded by people that all the time are giving and outpouring and seeing lives changed and getting to meet Lakeyshia and the things that her church is doing, that she's doing, and it's just such a blessing.